On this week's episode of The Flop Factor, the guys will go straight into the San Antonio Spurs' perfect month of February, James Harden and the Cleveland Cavaliers' injury issues, the Charlotte Hornets being on fire for the first time in who knows how long, and go over some guys on lower-level tanking teams that may have an impact the rest of the way in both fantasy basketball and in the future of their careers, and also go over a draft prospect we like for this upcoming draft that maybe not some people may be talking about. All on this week's episode of The Flop Factor that starts now. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Flop Factor. A little bit of a smaller group today. Braden Laszlo is dealing with some WVU news situations and some work, so good luck with him on that. And then Connor Roberts is also dealing with work, but he's at the Creamery right now, scooping and having some fun times over there. Maybe with Luke Blaine. I'm not sure. He's not working today. He told me that. Oh. But it's just myself, Cody Byrne, your host, my co-hosts, RJ Rice and DJ McDermott here today. And we're going to go over some news around the league. We're going to talk about DJ Spurs. And we're going to go ahead and start with that. The Spurs end the month of February with no games lost. The third month the Spurs have ever gone undefeated in franchise history. I mean, they're on fire. They're only, 1.5 games out, first place in the West?
Yeah, it's close.
Or 2.5. It's 1 or 2.
I think it's 1.5 now.
1.5?
I want to say it was 2.5 last episode.
Yeah, and then the Thunder lost to the Pistons last night.
Yes.
So 2 nights ago.
Yes.
So, but Shea's back, so who knows what can happen from here on out. But the Spurs are on fire. No team would want to touch this team whenever it comes to the playoffs, even though they are inexperienced, some would say. But whenever you have a team they have De'Aaron Fox. That's some experience. That's a veteran. They have Harrison Barnes, who won the championship with Golden State, was on that 73-9 team that lost in the finals, went all the way to the finals, but blew it. They have veteran leadership. I mean, Bismack Biyombo on that back in the bench. He got paid off of a playoff performance whenever he blocked 6 shots for the Toronto Raptors in the playoff game. But they've yet to lose in February. They will not lose in February. We're recording on the 27th, but they did not play again in the month of February. But man, what is there to talk about for this team? It's just so elite.
I mean, it's just really impressive from a Mitch Johnson standpoint as head coach. You lead a team through like San Antonio, undefeated. Cody, as you mentioned, in the month of February, still behind the Thunder though by a couple games. It's a game and a half now, but that's small margins. I mean, if you want to get that number 1 seed in the West, I think it's very possible. I know we talked about this on Flop Factor Live when you two unfortunately could not have been there. I talked about with John, Aaron, and Nico. This Spurs team can definitely overtake the Thunder if they wanted to and be the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. When you have a month like this, I mean, you're beating teams like you beat Detroit recently. That was on the 23rd of February. That was probably their biggest win in this month, in my opinion. I think it was a great win for them. And now for the Spurs, I mean, DJ, I know you'll talk more in detail about this, but this coming up March schedule, you had a couple of cupcake opponents. I know Sacramento was in there. You had Dallas a couple of times, which, I mean, Dallas they're all right now. They've gotten a little bit better, but you're going to be playing teams now like New York, Philadelphia, Detroit again, Houston, Boston. That's within the first week and a half of March. So, DJ, how you guys go about this will be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. One thing I do want to mention is I remember about 4 or 5 weeks ago, our last episode of January, I remember the Spurs were on their own. They were doing okay, and we kind of mentioned the Hornets a bit, and I remember I said, we were recording on Friday, and I said, the Charlotte Hornets 6-game win streak is going to come to an end, and the Spurs ended up losing to the Hornets. That was the last game that the Spurs have lost, was on January 31st. Ever since then, like you guys mentioned, the Spurs have gone 11-0, and I saw a graphic that the Spurs are the first team in NBA history to go undefeated in a month of basketball while also scoring 110-plus points in each of those games that they have won, which I thought was pretty impressive. And one of the most impressive things that I have seen out of the Spurs team, obviously, you have the stars that you saw during All-Star Weekend. You have Victor Wembanyama, you have De'Aaron Fox, you have Stephon Castle, even Dylan Harper has showed up. But it's more of these depth guys that have been showing up. I mean, when you talk about, RJ, you mentioned the win against the Pistons and how you think that was the best win in this stretch. I totally agree, but when you look at a game like that, you think the Stars are going to do good. Devin Vassell, 28 points, leading scorer. He had a phenomenal game. I want to say he made 7 or 8 three-pointers in that game. And the Spurs got their 11th win in a row last night against the Nets, Who is their leading scorer? Julian Champagnie. I think the biggest thing right now is other players getting these reps, other players stepping up. When the Spurs won against Oklahoma City on February 4th, Keldon Johnson was the leading scorer. I mean, it's all over the place. I love the versatility. Stephon Castle had a 40-point triple-double on February 7th against the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, there's not just one person, and I feel like that's what the outlook for the Spurs was coming into the season was, oh, Wemby is going to be the number one guy. Wemby is still the number one guy, but you have so many pieces around him. You have Harper off the bench, and I love the point that you made, Cody, about the veteran leadership. I mean, especially Harrison Barnes started off the season in a starting role, and he's kind of taken a step down. He is more of a bench presence now, but it's given Julian Champagnie more reps in the starting lineup, but I feel like he's been very good off of that, and I think Wemby has shown very good reps as a leader. Just this team all around, man, it's the closest I've ever seen a Spurs team in terms of like team chemistry in a while. And I mean, obviously you can tell that by the record. You can tell that by the media attention that they're getting. And another veteran presence, me and RJ talked about it before, Mason Plumlee got signed for the rest of the season. Not league-altering news, but I feel like when we talk about playoff presence, veteran presence, that's kind of what you want to add to that roster, especially with a young center who hasn't made the playoffs like Victor Wembanyama. You have Bismack Biyombo. You have Mason Plumlee on the roster. So I'm excited to see where they go from there. But this upcoming stretch of games, they have the Pistons again. They play New York on Sunday. Philadelphia's in there too. It's a tough stretch, but this is where you want to play your best ball. And to be tested by some of the best teams in the league, I feel like this is the best time to kind of get those tests.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, when I was speaking of veteran leadership, I didn't even bring up NBA champion Luke Cornett, man. He's an NBA champion right now.
Yeah.
Lindy Waters was on the Thunder for a little bit. Shout out. I've always been a big Lindy Waters fan.
A lot of big men that have avid
Kelly
NBA.
Olynyk.
Olynyk.
There's a ton of veteran leaders on this team.
Poor Kevin Love.
I mean,
I will never forget that.
Man. But like, I think the most impressive win. We were together Wednesday, DJ, whenever we played against each other in the rec league. But we were talking about that Raptors Spurs game and how like ugly it was. But the Spurs were able to pull out with a 3-point win, despite Wemby only had 12 points on 3 of 12 shooting, and 1 of 6 from 3. Not his prettiest game in the world. Still had 5 blocks, but
and that's another game that Devin Vassell.
Devin Vassell led the team in scoring. 2 games in a row
that he led the team scoring. He only had I shouldn't say only. He had 21 points, but
Fox at 20.
The craziest stat line of the day is that the Spurs did not make a free throw the entire game against Toronto. So the fact that they still ended up scoring 110 points, and I mean, like I said, it was really ugly. But it's kind of those ugly wins that solidify yourself as a contender.
Yeah, and I think something else you can also look at is you don't have to overly rely on Wemby to get wins.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest kind of output on this month of February for the Spurs. That if you get in the playoffs, say Wemby doesn't have a good game, you have guys like Devin Vassell, I cannot speak today. I don't know what it is. De'Aaron Fox giving you those points and giving you that production to still get you wins. I think it's really important for any championship roster.
On this ESPN schedules tab that I have up right now on the Spurs, and you look at their 11-game win streak, it's basically when you look at it, they have the leaders for points, rebounds, and assists. There's a different player almost every time for points. There's a couple different players for rebounds, mostly Wemby, but you have Luke Cornett in there. Keldon Johnson's in there. Stephon Castle's in there. And then for assists, it's mostly Fox, but it's also mixed up. And I feel like it's a lot better fluently for the team when you have a lot of guys taking steps up and steps down game by game and kind of letting the hot hand go and not just giving it to one specific player every night.
Yeah, that's why the Spurs team kind of reminds me of like the 2020 3 championship Nuggets team, where it's like, yeah, Jokic is probably going to have a good night, but what if he doesn't? And then that team was able to pick up for him. That's why they were able to win a championship. And in the last 2 years, like especially last year, whenever the Thunder took Jokic out the last couple games of that series, no one was able to pick up for him. They forced him into a passer. His teammates were able to step up. That's why they went and got so many
even this
help.
year with Jokic's
injury. Like it's like Jokic has been hurt some. The Nuggets were still able to win, but not to the same accord. The Thunder this year, whenever Shea went down, it's like, oh man, this is a completely different team. Now, obviously, there's other issues there too. Like J-Dub's been out this entire stretch. AJ Mitchell's out. You don't really have a ball handler outside of Isaiah Joe and Jared McCain, and sometimes Cason Wallace. But like, it's like, some of these teams, whenever their star goes down, it's like, oh boy, who's gonna be running it? This is a team that Victor Wembanyama is the best defensive player on the court at all times. His offense is either really, really good or hit and miss, but you got guys that can pick him up. You got 3 playmaking point guards who can all step up in any given time between Harper, Fox, and Castle. It's just, you're built like that. Maybe this is a team that could win the finals this year. If they don't, definitely could. And in the next couple of years, they have all these guys on rookie contracts still trying to build up. And like, it's just a team that's built to succeed. And you have Mitch Johnson at the helm, who maybe can be questionable at times with adjustments, but first year as a full-time head coach and is obviously learned from the best. So
yeah, and I feel like a lot of beginning of the season adjustments for Mitch Johnson, a lot of people were questioning it. Obviously, there was a ton of success, but even we want to talk about injuries and people stepping up. Wemby was injured for a good amount of the beginning of the season, and I feel like that's when you first started seeing people step up. Especially, I think the first time you saw that was when in the NBA Cup game semifinals versus the Thunder, when Wemby came off the bench, and that was his first game back in weeks. And the Spurs still ended up pulling out a win against the Thunder there, but it just kind of showed.
That was their second loss of the season at that point.
They were like 24-1.
It was 24-1, and then the injuries. Immediately after that game is whenever everyone died.
Yeah, and it kind of was like an opposite effect. Wemby started getting healthy after that, and the Thunder started just going down like flies. But you mentioned defense. Stephon Castle has been phenomenal on defense. I remember the Rockets game. He was locking up Kevin Durant. And most recently against the Pistons, I mean, he was putting Cade Cunningham through some crazy stuff, and Cade Cunningham showed his frustration on the court. I don't know if you saw that clip, and started a bit of a scuffle, but it was Stephon Castle face guarding him, and Cade Cunningham basically pushing him to the ground. But when you talk about
that
defense,
was a 28 true shooting percentage game, wasn't it?
Yeah. The Pistons from the 3-point line were horrendous. I don't have exact stats on me right now, but I remember watching the game. It didn't look like a 3 went down.
19%, 7 of 36.
It was crazy, but when you talk about defense, obviously you have Wemby, but then when you have guys like same thing, other guys stepping up. I feel like that's the story of this season for the Spurs, and especially this 11-game win streak.
Yeah, definitely. And after a long discussion on the Spurs, let's go on to the Eastern Conference team, a team that was red hot. We were talking about last week, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Injuries kind of struck. James Harden fractured his thumb, but he's trying to play through it and trying to play tonight against the Pistons. Now, it's a lower, not as important, not as painstaking fracture, I guess I should say. And then at the same time, Donovan Mitchell's dealing with a groin strain right now that can take some time to recover. Who knows how long that will take. But James Harden might play tonight against the Pistons. He's currently listed as day-to-day, I believe, with this injury. And trying to play through this injury. They lost without both D-Mitch or Harden last night, so against the Milwaukee Bucks. So a team that's red hot, the second they get Harden, finally lose a game against the Thunder. That's their first loss since the trade. It's just really rough time for injuries to just pop up out of nowhere once again.
Yeah, this has been how it's been for the past couple of years. With obviously this is more Garland past couple of years, and then now it's Harden. Mitchell has a little bit of an injury. I'm hoping that can be out Friday, be fine Sunday type of deal. Be precautious if you need to. This Cleveland organization is going to be very cautious with injuries because it's always been something with either Mobley or Garland that they've always had to deal with. So they're going to take the cautious route no matter what. I mean, this is a really key game in Detroit that I hope Cleveland can try and pull out. I'm hoping for some more production out of Evan Mobley, but if not, Jarrett Allen. I tell you what, his month of February, it's Jarrett Allen in the month of February is just insane. I mean, ever since January 28th to this moment here, he has led the team in rebounding. He's been incredible for even in the points because it's when Harden dishes it out to him, he just goes up. It's a bucket or he's going to the line. It's almost automatic for him, and I think that's going to be something key that we'll have to see. I think something I want to expect a lot of production out of tonight would be Dennis Schroeder. He has been incredible. He was incredible against Milwaukee. He hit a great kind of off-the-glass shot to give Cleveland even an opportunity to win that game in Milwaukee, but Jarrett Allen could not get that final shot off in time. But this game tonight will be very important, to, at least in my opinion, to see how Cleveland plays without Mitchell and Harden. I think if they can still keep in, close proximity to Detroit, you're going to get a loss. I mean, that's tough, but you're still competing. I think that's a moral victory in that sense. You get some guys healthy back in Brooklyn on Sunday, try to get a victory there and move on. You play Detroit again, too. And then you play Boston and Philadelphia in a 3-game homestand. I'll have to wait and see how that'll go. But I think for Cleveland, you're kind of resting up now. Be a little bit cautious because you got that stretch in front of you, especially against some pretty good Eastern Conference teams in Detroit, Boston, and Philadelphia, that if you got to get those wins or else you could be sliding down the standings. I think if you're Cleveland, taking that safe approach would be smart. But if they were to get a win in Detroit, I think it'd be really, really big for the confidence of both the younger developmental players but also the bench as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like parts of Cleveland are similar to what we were talking about. The Spurs and the Thunder are like, when your key players are out, you want other people to step up. And I think that's the point that you were trying to make, RJ, with Dennis Schroeder stepping up. I really love, one of my favorite players this entire year, and I know we've talked about him before, Jalen Tyson has really stepped up for you guys. I feel like he's going to need to be one of those big pieces going forward. Obviously, he's already taken that step up, but if he can take an additional other one before the playoffs start, I feel like that'd be huge for Cleveland. And it's just, for me, Cleveland's a kind of a confusing team because they have been really good ever since January 19th. They've only suffered 3 losses, 2 of them coming within the last 3 games, 1 to Oklahoma City and 1 to Milwaukee, but some really key wins. Especially that win against New York on this past Thursday, February 24th. And I just think if you guys can come out on top of these injuries, I mean, like you said, Dennis Schroeder, I think Sam Merrill is a big bench piece that has stepped up for you guys. I feel like you just need those other pieces, some of those people that you don't, like the Spurs, some people that you don't see in the headlines too often kind of step up, and either Jarrett Allen is a pure example. I mean, he has been insane on the boards. But I think that the Cavaliers are going to be just fine. I think they just need to manage their injuries well, and I like what you said, kind of just rest them for the games that you need to rest them, but just like make sure you get them back in enough time, because this is the stretch of the season where you're going to need your best players to be at full health, but you're also going to need the team chemistry to be going before the playoffs.
Yeah, I think something interesting, at least I'm trying to predict our starting lineup for tonight. It's probably going to be a mix of Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Jalen Tyson, who you just mentioned. We'll probably get that start because Dean Wade is doubtful. Probably going to have Sam Merrill at the 2, Dennis Schroeder at the 1. I'm excited about that lineup because I think with Dennis Schroeder's scoring ability, but also his ability to pass, and especially defensively, I think that is his, at least to me, from what I've seen from his time in Cleveland, his most underrated attribute. Getting those steals is just so important. And then Sam Merrill can hit a couple of threes, they'll be in there. But Naquan Tomlin, I want to see how he plays tonight against Detroit. That is something very key for me. He has the measurabilities to play really great defense and score effectively, but will he get it done? He's the guy right now for me that I'm laser focused on the bench.
Yeah, definitely. And now, luckily for Harden, it's his non-shooting hand that he's dealing with, because left-handed shooter, right thumb injury, but it's always rough to play through this injury. I mean, players play through injuries like this all the time. It's just like it always happens, and like I feel like it's always certain players this happens to. Like there's a couple of players that always comes to mind that's always end up right before playoff time. Something happens. They're about to like have one of the highest percent chances, one of the highest like percent chances to even like win the finals. It happened to Russell Westbrook numerous times. It happened to Harden numerous times. It happened to Dwight Howard multiple times. It always ends up happening to these guys. Happened to Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter. Like all these guys end up playing through injuries whenever it gets to the point of playoffs, and it's always just rough. It's always rough. But luckily for Harden, he's more of a playmaking role with Cleveland. He's just all he has to do is create shots for his teammates, knock down open jumpers whenever he creates them for himself, or whenever Mitchell creates space and pulls gravity over towards him, he'll have an open jump shot on the wing. It's just interesting to see how this works with Harden the rest of the way of the season, playing through this injury, and what the hand specialist tells him, because he's apparently seeing him today before the game to see if he's ready to go or not. But on all likelihood, he will be giving him the go. Moving on, another Eastern Conference team who is absolutely on fire, the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, I will pat myself on the back here. I don't do this often, but I got it right. Well, so far, I have it right. We may have been wrong, all of us, collectively may have been wrong about the Atlanta Hawks, who are currently the 9th seed in the conference. We weren't expecting it to be like this, but the Charlotte Hornets are at the 10 seed right now. I mean, it happened.
That's play-in material.
The Charlotte Hornets are a play-in team.
And Concanupple broke the rookie 3-point record
he
for
did.
most 3-pointers in the season.
And it's only February.
And there's still like 24 games left.
Yeah, it's whenever you like Conganipple's like they have one of the most insane he has one of the most insane shooting charts to look at. But it's like you just expect 3. He shoots a lot of threes. He also shoots a lot of mid ranges. Doesn't shoot much in the paint. But I love looking at shooting charts like that. It's just so fun. And but this Hornets team, it's not even LaMelo's team anymore. It's not like he might not even be the second best player in this team now. Brandon Miller's breaking out too. And LaMelo has other things to deal with. Obviously, the people of Charlotte are kind of terrified
I can't blame him
because of oh boy, here comes the Hummer. Blaring music, man. Whenever he swerves, hits that corner, and goes, whoa. I mean, I don't even know. But it's great to see Charlotte get some winning action. I mean, the Panthers were great this year. The Hurricanes are great, as usual, which the Hurricanes are just a Carolina team in general. They don't play in Charlotte, but in the same area of North Carolina. North Carolina sports, very hit and miss when it comes to the pro level. They tend to have a curse to them, it feels like. But the Charlotte Hornets, they have a little bit of a future to them, man.
This Charlotte Hornets team has been pretty fun so far. I mean, you're looking at you kind of mentioned it, Brandon Miller, as well as LaMelo not being top 2. That's how you know the future in Charlotte's looking pretty nice. I mean, you got Concanupple balling out right now. You even got Kobe White off the bench.
Yeah, Kobe White's a great addition.
Yeah, that was a perfect addition for Charlotte, having him as that bench option. And you have other guys on the bench. Even shout out Grant Williams, if you know used to be the old meme of the Grant Williams poll. if you know, you know. And then you also got Ryan Kalkbrenner in there. But I think really for the Charlotte Hornets organization, you are outdoing your expectations right now. You're kind of, I wouldn't say accelerating the rebuild, but it's going at a faster pace than you would have expected. I mean, you got teams like Portland, Dallas, Boston, Miami, Phoenix coming up. I think if you can snag a couple of those wins, I think it'd be really big. We talked about it, I believe it was last week or the week before on Flat Factor. They were on a great winning streak. I tell you what, that ended, it was February 9th. I mean, it was the Pistons. It was a close loss still, though. But you're also looking at it. They had close losses against both Houston and Cleveland. Other than those three, I mean, that's a great stretch for Charlotte. You can't complain about that at all to start out 2026. I think they can beat off some of these good teams, even Boston, Miami, good wins that they could get potentially in the month of March. But I'm really excited to see how the Charlotte Hornets team will continue their I mean, you can even see what they played against Indiana. 133 to 109. That's blowout level for a team that's not even 500. I mean, you have to take the wins where you can get them. Miller dropped 33 in that game. I tell you what. Brandon Miller, like you said, Cody, he's going to be something special.
Yeah, and Brandon Miller's jump shot on 2K is butter. It is so good. I love shooting with him in 2K. But in terms of, I'm looking at the standings right now. It's kind of crazy to look at seeds 7 to 10. It's the Magic, Heat, Hawks, and Hornets. There's only 3 games separating them. And with how I mean, personally, I don't think the Magic, Heat, and Hawks have been hot as of recent. I think the Hornets have been much hotter. If they win a couple more games and these teams lose, you can see the Hornets getting a good seed in the play-in, and I can't see them getting the 6th seed. I can't see them going up over the 76ers or the Raptors, but they can get a really good seed, and they could be in prime position to make the playoffs out of the play-in if they keep playing as hot as they have been. Because, I mean, I know I've mentioned it 2 or 3 times already. This is the most important stretch of the season. This is where you find your true identity for the team, and if they if they keep this momentum going, I mean, you can see this really young Charlotte Hornets team make the playoffs, which would be a sight for sore eyes for a lot of Hornets fans. But 2 players I want to mention for the Hornets are 2 players that were on my basketball fantasy team and 2 players that got ejected against the Pistons. First of all, Miles Bridges, he's been very consistent the past couple of years on the Hornets. A lot of trade rumors, but I'm glad to see him producing now, and I feel like he's one of the more underrated forwards in the NBA, one of the more underrated forwards on this roster. I mean, he's really consistent. He's played all 55 games once you discount the suspension of the 4 games that he missed. But he's averaging 18 points a game. He's averaging 6 rebounds. He's averaging 3 assists. He's a solid fourth option, and especially if LaMelo Ball is dealing with injuries, I mean, he's the main forward. He's the main guy you want to get the ball to. And then, please correct me if I say his name wrong. Musa Diabate.
That's right.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
Bang. Let's go.
I've had him in spot starts on my fantasy team too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
He's just been filling up and down.
He's gotten a solid 40, 50 points here and there.
He's been a great waiver wire floater.
Yeah, exactly. Trust me, I know, me too, because I unfortunately had to drop him when he got suspended, and Miles Bridges, but I got them both back. But Musa Diabate also, he is the leader in rebounds per game for this team. I feel like when you talk about the Hornets, a lot of star guards that have been. Brandon Miller is like a guard/forward, but I feel like a lot of people consider him guards. I mean, obviously, Kobe White, LaMelo Ball, Concanupple, and then I just want to mention the forwards of Miles Bridges and Musa Diabate. I mean, those 2 players have been really good on the boards for the Hornets, and I feel like those are 2 very overlooked players on this run for them. A lot of stuff off the stat sheet. For Miles Bridges and Musa Diabate, but this Hornets team is really, really young and really dangerous, and I'm really excited to see if they can kind of take this hot streak into this latter stretch of the season.
Yeah, definitely, and it would be a really insane sighting to see the Hornets back in the playoffs if it somehow happens. Like, it's been in 10 years since it happened last, and it would be an incredible sight. They did make the play-in game in the COVID year, I believe. Yeah, it was the season that fans weren't allowed in the stands that they made it. And they were in the play-in, the second official play-in tournament, the one after the bubble that year. That was an interesting year of basketball. That was Milwaukee Bucks ended up being champions that year, but it was it's been a long time since this team's been competitive, and it would be really fun to see how they do from here on out. But moving on to one of our second to last thing, a little small thing, and it's tank time. It's time for the end of the bench guys to get some run. One of my favorite times of the year, because that's where you can find some hidden gems. I remember whenever the Thunder were in this same rebuilding situation, one of my favorite players to ever grace the game of basketball was born, and his name was Jalen Horde. I absolutely loved Jalen Horde. Jalen Horde had a 20-20 game, and then followed that up with a 35 rebound game, and he's one of the more insane players in NBA history, because immediately after that he went overseas. Didn't even get picked up by a team after that. But there's another guy. Olivier Sarr was fun too on those teams. And then a dude I'll bring up was on the Blazers during this same era, during the same year I was talking about that Jalen Horde was playing. But I'll save him for last. Basically, what I'm asking, after rambling on for Jalen Horde, a player on this tank. On these teams that are tanking, bottoming out for draft capital, sitting guys out, bringing some rookies, some young guys in to get them some run. Who are the guys you're looking out for?
Well, Cody kind of gave me some motivation for mine. This is a player we all know. He was at this very university last season. Javon Small, I'll go through this week, through the 20th of February to now the 27th. I mean, you're dropping 16 points twice. You're dropping 21 in a loss against Sacramento. You even rebounding, too. He had 6+ rebounds in back-to-back games against Sacramento and Golden State. I mean, he's been shooting really efficiently as well. He had 3 straight games from the 21st of February to the 25th of 75% from the field. I think that's really productive for this Memphis team, with Ty Jerome obviously still dealing with some injuries, which, I mean, that's a whole other conversation for another day. But I think really for what Memphis is looking for, and you never know the future of Ja Morant. I mean, that's probably going to be found out this offseason. Having a guy like Javon, which if you really want to keep Ty Jerome, you have him as a great bench piece. I think he'll be really great for the future. So a nice close-to-home connection for me is I'll pick Javon Small.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a player. I want to say we mentioned him on this podcast before, but I'm not completely sure. I'm going to go with the 19th pick in the 2025 draft, someone who has stepped up on the Brooklyn Nets after Cam Thomas has been released. I'm going to go with Nolan Traore. I've seen a lot of graphics of him stepping up for the Nets, and I think that has come. I mean, Cam Thomas, obviously, I remember his numerous 40-point games pretty inconsistent for the Nets, if you ask me, but he had numerous 40-point games. I feel like he took a lot of unnecessary shots during his later part of his Nets career until he got released. And since he's been released, I think Nolan Traore has really come up and has really been getting a ton of playing time, a lot of production in the minutes that he has played for the Nets. I mean, obviously the Nets are on a 6-game losing streak right now. I mean, when you talk about the definition of tanking or the definition of a losing team, this is what you see. I mean, the Nets really don't have a lot to fight for. Michael Porter Jr. has been playing pretty well this season, but people like Nolan Traore, I mean, he's had consistent. You look on the stat sheet, he's only averaging 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 assists. But he's shooting at 39% from the field. I feel like there's a lot of improvement to be done, but he is a rookie. He's getting a good amount of PT. He scored 13 points against the Spurs last night. I mean, I think when you talk about taking command of a bad situation, I think Nolan Traore is going to be a key piece for the Nets next year, and I feel like he's stepped up so far in his brief playing time in Brooklyn so far.
Yes, and one thing I want to say before starting, well, I'll mention his name. Brandon Williams is a dog. I love Brandon Williams' game. I was a big fan of him when he was playing in Arizona. I was a big fan of him whenever he was playing for Portland a couple of years ago, and randomly did not get picked up for an entire year playing. He played in 2020 to 22 in Portland, and then spent the entirety of the 22-23 season in the G League, but then got picked up by Dallas. Played 17 games in 2023 at the end of that season. And then in 2024-25 was playing at the end of the season after Kyrie Irving went down with an injury. And then he picked up an actual deal and has played throughout this season. Has been great. And now he's starting to pick up the pace as he gets more minutes at the end of the season when D'Angelo Russell and everybody else has been traded away. All the guys in his way are gone. And this season, he is averaging 12.9 points per game, shooting 47% from the floor, only 23% from three, but he doesn't really shoot those very often, and 76.2% from the line. He's a great playmaker, and the last 5 games, he's had 17, 13, 15, 19, and 16 points, and 7, 4, 7, 10, and 4 assists. He's been great so far. This reminds me a lot of what he was doing in Portland a couple of years ago, that I was like, man, this guy's going to be a star. This guy might be like Portland's next big guard, and then he just randomly never showed up again for an entire year. And I was like, what happened here? Like, this guy was nice. And now he's finally playing again, and I'm like, yes, this is what I envisioned. This is the guy I wanted to see play. Brandon Williams is a great player. He'll be a great NBA backup guard for some time to come. And even whenever the Mavericks, whoever they end up drafting, who knows who it's going to be with how lucky this team got in the draft lottery last year, may happen again, and you may just see Cooper Flag and Darren Peterson on the same team together, but let's see what happens. Brandon Williams, whether it's backing up Kyrie or playing alongside Kyrie Irving next year, I'm really interested to see where it takes him, and that's why I picked up him and Javon Small on my fantasy team for this week. Now, one last segment. We're going to mention real quickly an NBA draft prospect that we're like, may not be one of the top guys. Maybe he's a lottery pick. Maybe he's a late first-round pick. Maybe even he's a second-round pick that's trying to bubble up. Just a draft prospect that you've just been like, I like this guy's game. And I'll start out with this one. I love Christian Anderson's game. Christian Anderson's so fun to watch. Ever since JT Toppins went down at Texas Tech, he's just been like, okay, we're still fine. We're still one of the best teams in the nation. I'm just going to score 35 points tonight. Let's see how this works. And it's so fun to watch. He's so efficient whenever he has the basketball. He's a great playmaker as well. He didn't have his best game of the season against West Virginia whenever he was playing in Morgantown because they were forcing that defensive pressure towards him. You know what he did? He had 15 assists. That's how he can switch his game. And he's currently mocked around like the 20s. But he's one of the fastest risers in the draft. I wouldn't be shocked if this guy's in the lottery by the time March Madness is over with, by the time the NCAA tournament's over with, because he's only a sophomore. He's going to be 20 years old at the age of the draft, and he's younger than me. It's just so fun to watch. Whenever I was watching this guy and shoot around, did not miss a shot. I don't remember. I think it was Matt was there with me. We were just watching this guy just launch shots from half court and just drill every single one of them. And like, this is one of the best shooters I've ever seen in my life, and he can dunk too, and he can play defense, and he can play make. It just really shocked me that this guy wasn't highly touted coming into this week. I understand this is a very deep draft class, but Christian Anderson is a very deserving NBA prospect and will make some NBA team, don't know whoever ends up drafting him, very, very happy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my next prospect. Another Big 12 guy, Cameron Carr. He had spent a couple years in Tennessee, came to Baylor. He's been lighting it on fire for them this season. I think really when you're looking at kind of the mid-20s, he's currently mocked around that range on Tankathon. But I think for me especially, you're dropping almost 20 points a game. I mean, you're being really efficient. You're shooting around 37% from three. But I think really what taking away from it, I think he averages around 6 rebounds per game as well. I think it's something very important to look at if you're looking for a guy that can do it all, kind of go around that as a guard. I think for Cameron Carr is where I'm looking at, and when you see the team that he's currently mocked to, it just makes you want to cry inside a little bit. If you've watched any of these episodes, you would know why I'd be saying that. But I mean, I'll have to wait and see. I mean, he's going to be, or he is a sophomore now, I believe, going into his junior year. But if he goes into the draft, you're going to be a late first rounder. I think whoever can get him in that late first, looking at those contending teams, I think it'd be a steal for him.
Yeah, I have a quick 2 players. One of them, I just wanted to continue the Big 12. You guys mentioned Big 12 players. I also wanted to mention a Big 12 player that's mocked late first round to the Pistons in Tankathon. Joshua Jefferson from Iowa State. I feel like he's been really good this year. He's a little older. He's nearing 23 years old, so a little older for an NBA draft. But he is on Iowa State. It's a top 10 team in the nation, averaging about 19 points per game. The main guy I want to highlight, once again, correct me if I get this name wrong, Thomas Haw. Is that how you is it?
I believe so.
Is it Haw? Florida?
Yeah.
Florida.
Florida.
Main scorer for Florida. He's mocked like mid-first round. I think he is. I mean, obviously Florida had their struggles in the beginning of the season, but now they're back up to number 7 ranked team in the nation, and I feel like he has been the main reason. I was high on him coming into the season. I was also high on Xavier Lee, but regardless, I think Thomas Haw is one of the best forwards in this draft class, and I feel like he's very underrated. He is a top 15 draft prospect. I think he could sneak his way I think he is going to be a lottery pick by the time the season's over. I feel like Florida's going to have a lot of success, but I'm really high on that, and I feel like he's underrated for being on Florida, on an SEC basketball team especially.
Yeah, there's so much NBA draft prospects this year, and this is a type of draft that I love whenever it gets to draft time, whenever it gets since I'm also a big college basketball guy, but especially this year where it's like a lot of the top prospects are college basketball players. You obviously have like Karen Lopez, you have a couple of other NBL guys that could potentially be a solid prospects, but majority of the time, a lot of these guys are playing currently in college basketball, and it's really fun to watch them play every single day on these top teams. Like you have guys like a Daymara who's been in college for a while now. You have a guy who's currently a lottery pick projected in Hannes Steinbach, who I've been pleasantly surprised with as a freshman this season, coming over from overseas. And then Yaxel Lindenborg, who is projected to the Spurs right now, one of the best defensive prospect in the draft. And then Tunde Yesif, who is also another great Big 12 guy from Baylor, who is one of the better defensive guys currently mocked to the Thunder in the draft right now. And then this is a draft class so deep that even guys who were marked in the top 10 at the start of the year are now 17. And Koa Pete, he's now fallen all the way back to 17 right now, mocked in some mock drafts just because of how good the rest of the class has been. You have guys like Keaton Wagler, who's been great, Caleb Wilson, who's always been that top 5. Kingston Flemings has been great for Houston. Darius Acuff on Arkansas is one of the best guards in the nation as a freshman, and it's just so fun to watch this NBA draft class go to work.
I tell you what, though, I was noticing down this draft, Memphis having those 2 first rounders. If they nail this draft, look out for Memphis. That'd be incredible if they nail both those.
Especially to get lucky in the lottery for the first time. Since Mike Conley probably, Pau Gasol, one of those guys. But that will do it, though, for this week's episode of The Flop Factor. Thank you guys for listening all the way. A nice 40-minute long episode here with only 3 people. I'll take that one any day of the week. And as always, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, any other podcast platform that you decide to listen to Apple Podcasts on Apple Music. But yes, it's always fun to talk ball with you guys and talk ball and have you all listen to us. But that will do it for this week's episode of The Flop Factor. Thanks for listening all the way. For myself, Cody Burton, DJ McDermott, RJ Rice, and also Connor Roberts and Brandon Laszlo, despite not being here today, not being able to be here today. Well, thank you guys for listening, and The Flop Factor ends now.